Imagine a chess game where every move reshapes global alliances. That's the reality facing American CEOs today, with 71% restructuring their supply chains due to geopolitical threats rather than costs, a defensive move in an undeclared economic war. Behind these business decisions lies a shifting global landscape. The Russia-Ukraine conflict serves as a powerful example of how regional tensions can transform international economic relationships. What we're witnessing isn't just market disruption, but the exposure of vulnerabilities that rival powers actively exploit. The weapons of this new war aren't tanks and missiles, they're tariffs, tech bans, and currency manipulation. From oil embargoes to digital blockades, the evolution of economic warfare. Have you ever wondered how nations wage war without firing a single bullet? The answer lies in the 1973 oil embargo, a watershed moment that forever changed global power dynamics. In October 1973, OPEC nations took unprecedented action against countries supporting Israel in the Yom Kippur War. Arab oil producers, led by Saudi Arabia, weaponized their most valuable resource by cutting production and imposing targeted embargoes against the United States and several other Western nations. This was a calculated political maneuver that demonstrated how vital resources could be transformed into tools of coercion. The effects were immediate and devastating. Oil prices quadrupled almost overnight from $3 to $12 per barrel, causing American gas stations to run dry with long lines forming around those with remaining fuel. The government implemented rationing systems, with odd-even license plate allowances determining purchase days. Simultaneously, the stock market plummeted, losing 45% of its value, one of the most severe crashes since the Great Depression. This shock revealed America's profound energy vulnerability. In response, the U.S. created the Strategic Petroleum Reserve in 1975, a network of underground salt caverns along the Gulf Coast, designed to hold 714 million barrels of emergency oil supplies. International alliances were restructured, with energy security becoming a central component of foreign policy for the first time. The 1973 embargo established a blueprint for modern economic warfare through a three-step playbook. Identify an adversary's critical dependency, establish control over the supply, and leverage that control for political concessions. Like an oil valve being shut, today's digital switches can similarly isolate nations from vital financial and technological resources. This fundamental pattern has evolved beyond physical resources to include specialized technology, global financial systems, and digital infrastructure. Data analysis reveals a 500% increase in targeted economic sanctions since 1973, with implementation growing more sophisticated and precisely calibrated to pressure specific sectors, while minimizing collateral damage. The Russia-Ukraine conflict demonstrates this evolution perfectly. Russian exclusion from the SWIFT banking network, comprehensive technology export controls, and targeted asset freezes represent a multidimensional approach to economic pressure unimaginable in 1973. Supply chain wars, the new front lines of economic conflict. Beyond these direct economic sanctions lies a more insidious form of warfare that touches virtually every product you own. A single country controls 92% of the world's advanced chip production, creating a vulnerability so severe that nations are spending billions to eliminate it before it can be exploited. Your smartphone is a global political statement. The intricate components inside it represent one of the most complex supply chains ever created, with materials and parts sourced from dozens of countries, each link carefully optimized for efficiency rather than security. This optimization has created strategic vulnerabilities that nations actively identify and exploit. Intelligence agencies now maintain dedicated units focused solely on mapping these supply chain weaknesses. They're identifying strategic choke points where a handful of facilities, or even a single factory, controls the production of essential components. These vulnerabilities are actively being weaponized in today's economic conflicts. Taiwan's dominance in producing 92% of advanced semiconductor chips represents the most striking example of this vulnerability. Both China and the United States recognize this as a critical national security concern. A disruption to this single supply node could paralyze entire industries worldwide, from automotive manufacturing to defense systems. In response to these threats, governments have taken decisive action. The United States CHIPS Act has allocated $52 billion specifically to reduce dependency on foreign semiconductor production, a defensive measure against supply chain weaponization. Meanwhile, China's Made in China 2025 initiative aims to achieve self-sufficiency in critical technologies, insulating itself from potential disruptions while creating leverage against other economies. The effects are already rippling through the global economy. European manufacturers have reported a 34% increase in supply chain disruptions attributed specifically to geopolitical factors. Consequently, 77% of European CEOs are planning significant changes to their supply chains, prioritizing security and resilience over efficiency. The dramatic rise in protectionist measures, from 600 in 2017 to over 3,000 in 2022, reflects a coordinated effort to reshape global supply chains for strategic advantage. Digital dominance, technology as the ultimate economic weapon. While nations fortify their supply chains, an even more consequential battle is unfolding in the digital realm. What if the most powerful weapons aren't nuclear missiles or fighter jets, but invisible lines of code that can paralyze entire economic systems? This isn't science fiction. It's the new reality of economic warfare, where the weapons are patents, algorithms, and lines of code. Technology has undergone a fundamental transformation in how nations perceive it. No longer just commercial products creating consumer value. Technologies like artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and 5G networks have become strategic assets central to national security. AI can revolutionize healthcare but also control autonomous weapons. Quantum computing promises scientific breakthroughs, while threatening to break all encryption. The stakes are so high that governments worldwide have abandoned free market principles in favor of direct intervention, pouring over $200 billion into AI development subsidies alone. This unprecedented investment reflects a harsh truth. In the digital age, technological superiority creates compounding advantages across every sector of society. Unlike oil or rare minerals, AI doesn't just power one industry, it revolutionizes all of them simultaneously. The nation that leads in AI development gains leverage in manufacturing, healthcare, transportation, and perhaps most critically, defense systems. China's submission of more AI-related patents than the United States and European Union combined represents a strategic positioning to dominate global technical standards, not just random innovation. This coordinated strategy focuses on applications with dual commercial and security purposes, establishing dependencies that other nations must follow. These dependencies have triggered defensive responses. Export controls on advanced technologies have surged by 300% since 2018, evolving beyond physical components to encompass the intangible building blocks of technological power: algorithms, research partnerships, and talent recruitment. As competing technological ecosystems solidify around U.S.-led and China-led frameworks, smaller nations face a critical geopolitical choice that shapes everything from data governance to surveillance capabilities. Recent actions, like the threatened TikTok ban, reflected deeper concerns about algorithmic influence, while restrictions on ASML's chip-making equipment sales to China demonstrated coordinated efforts to maintain Western technological advantage. Financial weapons: how banking systems became battlefields. While conventional battlefields captivate our attention, the most powerful weapon in modern geopolitics silently operates through banking terminals and financial networks. Imagine your country suddenly cut off from global payment systems, unable to pay foreign debts, finance imports, or access its own reserves held overseas. What would happen in the aftermath? This financial nuclear option has transformed from theoretical to practical reality in recent years. The global financial architecture, originally constructed for peaceful commerce, has evolved into a strategic asset. Today's international banking system enables world trade while providing unprecedented leverage for those who control its infrastructure, creating an economic weapon that can cripple an economy overnight without deploying a single soldier. Financial sanctions have become the dominant instrument of economic pressure, with implementation surging by 200% over the past decade. Unlike earlier, blunter instruments, modern financial sanctions deploy with surgical precision, targeting specific individuals, companies, or economic sectors, while maintaining devastating effectiveness against adversaries. The system's power stems from dollar dominance. With 59% of global foreign exchange reserves denominated in dollars, American authorities wield extraordinary global reach. When the U.S. Treasury issues sanctions, effects ripple worldwide through secondary sanctions that force third parties to choose between accessing American markets or continuing business with sanctioned entities. This dollar weaponization has prompted defensive countermeasures. China has developed parallel financial infrastructure through its cross-border interbank payment system and digital yuan initiatives, strategic assets designed to create financial channels immune to Western interruption. The freezing of approximately $300 billion in Russian central bank assets following the Ukraine invasion marked a watershed moment in financial warfare. This action shattered assumptions about sovereign wealth protection, prompting central banks worldwide to accelerate diversification efforts. Financial weapons deliver immediate impact. When a nation loses access to international payment systems, economic activity diminishes dramatically within days, creating leverage without physical destruction, much like historical embargo tactics, but with unprecedented speed and precision. Remember when we first explored how traditional combat has given way to bloodless yet equally devastating economic battles? As we conclude, it's clear these aren't distant geopolitical maneuvers but forces reshaping our daily reality. The confluence of expert warnings, from the World Economic Forum's designation of geoeconomic confrontation as a critical 2025 risk to Goldman Sachs' projection that even modest tariff increases significantly impact corporate earnings, reveals both the immediate and long-term consequences of this shift. As economic warfare becomes the dominant battlefield of international power, will you recognize its influence in your investments, career choices, and consumer options? Understanding these hidden patterns of conflict isn't merely academic. It's becoming essential for navigating a world where the most consequential wars are fought not with bullets, but with balance sheets. That's all for today. And if you enjoyed the video, then hit the subscribe button and like this video for more geopolitical breakdowns made simple and truth behind the headlines.